Oh, there we go.
Am I on the air? Oh, goody. Hi, my name is Samson B. Jessup, and I'm your host for tonight's show. I want to elaborate a little bit on the God-fearing crop that we call radishes in most places of the civilized world. Let's talk a little bit about radishes. Radishes, we say, are a God-fearing crop because they actually impart a certain bitterness toward the fallen world. You be out into a radish. You think about that moment when you first been to a radish, you were a child. That old lady at that picnic offered you a radish. And I remember this is bringing tears to my eyes, and they're kind of like the tears of the Lord, because they bring back a certain memory. You think about that time in your youth when you had that radish. And you were reminded of something that harkens back to the first fall. It harkens back to that apple that was bit, and I sometimes suspect that apple was in fact a radish. But let's get this straight, okay? Let's first straight. This memory of my childhood, and I do say these days you can make a fortune by crying on television, and we know that from Mr. Beck. But you can also make a bucket load of tears from eating radishes, okay? So you think of that memory, and that memory is what we call a memento mori. Now, as popish as those Benedictine monks are with their skull on the table, which is the reminder that they must carpe diem, if you should say that, if you will, that particular memory of the radish from your childhood, when you first bit into that raw radish, and you associate that with all that is bitter in your soul, in your life, that particular kind of side of your existence, that is not something to be proud of, that you're unhappy about, that vulnerability, all that makes you sad, that is a way to get closer to the Lord. So my ancestor, we're not going to talk about how many great-greats we're talking about here, but he goes back quite a ways, St. Paul Pilgrim. We talk about a period of time when, right before the Civil War, there was actually a trend that actually saved thousands of souls. People don't understand this, that actually you send those people into war without the salvation of the 10 revivals, and you don't have actually salvation for thousands of people. St. Paul Pilgrim, and I won't say he was from, because there's a kind of a tradition now of people threatening my life when I talk about that, okay? But we'll say that St. Paul Pilgrim was a God-fearing radish farmer, and that's all that man did was produce radishes. Now, I don't know if you understand this, but bumper crops of radishes are not always the way to secular salvation. We do not make lots of money that way. But what he did make was a bucket load of tears. And we talk about the tradition of Cotton Mather. Cotton Mather was the dumbest of all the pilgrims, the dumbest, I will say, and the most God-fearing. But the most nuanced, the most spectacular of all the pilgrims was Jonathan Edwards, who taught and preached in Enfield as well as Northampton, Massachusetts. Jonathan Edwards was actually preaching his most famous sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, at the time when this legend first started. And this is the legend that played into the hands of my ancestor a bit later. It's a kind of a continuity of tales about radishes. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to get to the heart of that in about 3 hours. In the meantime, this show is a long show. You've got to have some patience. The Lord is very patient with us. We have to be patient with the radish stories. Now, let me just begin this tale by talking about the legend first of the beard drum. Now, it's pronounced beard drum, not eardrum, not beer drum as in the liquid. Some kind of like beer with a D in the middle and rum at the end, but it's beard. Now there's a tradition for many God-fearing Christian people called playing video games instead of going to church. For some reason, because everyone must be wayward before they are saved. This is how it works. You can't be saved before you're wayward unless you're going to hell. You have to be wayward and then you're saved. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was said blind, but now I see. You go forward into the night and you play your video games, which are in fact a direct path to hell. Not an indirect, but a direct one. Play the video games, and in particular, that game that is called, what is the name of that game?
Which one?
The worst one of all.
WoW.
That's right, World of Warcraft. Because if you play the thing and you're a shaman, shaman means an animistic sorcerer, black magician, black practitioner of black magic, and it's really nasty stuff. They practice all over the world. Animism is what we used to call it. Animism, you ought to spit when you say that. I didn't get you, did I?
No, you didn't.
No, they would say wow because it's supposed to wow the people into going to the other side, to the devil. if you take the tradition of any of these games and anything that's worth doing, people can carry around a truckload, an army load, a world load, an entire like a whole shitload, shall we say, of material, and you put it in a little infinite pocket called hammer space. Okay? And what people don't know is the hammer space is not merely one color, the color of night. It is different colors. And there's a particular kind of hammer space that is the particular color of fire, hellfire, we might say, which is called the red hammer space. Red hammer space is precisely the color of the beard of that gentleman we can only know as Gavin Frechette. Gavin Frechette is the owner of the beard drum. He called it a beard drum because that man can fit the entire mass of a drum, shall we say. And I'm not talking about any old drum. I'm talking about an engine drum, a drum we call a tom-tom, or some kind of drum that you can't even begin to understand its power and its might. Or you could fit people in there, and we could drum on their bellies if you want to. But the bottom line is that drum is a symbol for all the things you can fit inside of his beard. Now one piece of the legend holds that Mr. Gavin Frechette, who has a satanic color beard, shall we say. That is red as you can possibly get. I can't even do my accent anymore because it's so red, okay? It's causing me to go straight to hell in about a flash of a memory of some kind of little mite of a second because I'm thinking about how red that is. It's red. It's redder than my own eye right now. And I got a lot of it right now thinking of that. That actually, if we actually think about the color of his beard, it will be a reminder that it's as potent as eating radishes. Mr. Frechette sold his beard one day in an effort to get closer to God. Because if he shaves that red off his face, or he's got the red on top of his head, that's not nearly as bad as the beard. The beard is very, very extreme. And he then can't put all these things in like drugs or like drums. Sold the beard. And you know what he did with that beard? The money, the proceeds from the beard, he bought a drum. That drum was not no Indian tom-tom drum. It was a drum I would only call a God-fearing drum. A drum of the Lord. The first percussion instrument was a piano in heaven. Let me get this straight. No drums before pianos. Pianos were the first invention of God. But we have this drum as a reminder of the very rhythm of salvation, the rhythm of the Lord. Mr. Frechette was saved on that day that he began to play the beard drum. I will leave the account of the next chapter of this legend to another individual who will proceed from here.